Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Here's a headline from you today. Judge asks Ripple and SEC to expedite trial. Will they agree? And there are a number of things in this piece that are interesting, undoubtedly. But if the trial indeed were expedited, and that's certainly an if, but if that happens, then the boom in with the anticipated altcoin season impending that so many chart analysts are calling for, it could be the case, depending on the timeline for this, that XRP could be deemed officially declared to not to be a security. So we'd finally have the clarity from a legal perspective we need. It could happen at perfect timing. Now, I'm not necessarily convinced that the timing's going to line up quite like that, but I will say that I suspect, even if it doesn't, once XRP is in the clear from a regulatory perspective, I think that news is going to do something, because the price along the way could be so severely depressed, which certainly has happened to this point. You can see what's happened over the last little over a week. It's been substantially harmful to XRP holders from a financial perspective. So thank you, SEC, again, by the way, for protecting me and my fellow XRP holders. Ridiculous here. But, I think inevitably an alt season is going to come, and it would be weird for XRP to not be part of it. And frankly, even if the court date goes on for a long time, there are all sorts of people that clearly, and I'm one of them, have strong convictions and are making the bet that XRP is going to be in the clear, and there's just going to be more people entering the world of crypto. So, check out my last video. There's an analyst saying, look, even with what's going on right now, I mean, have you seen an alt season before? When people come in, the money just pours in anyway. So, to think that XRP is never going to soar again, to me, I think it's missing the mark. Now, to be clear, I don't have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and so you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I just think it's fun to talk about these things, and I really enjoy running this YouTube channel as my most favorite hobby ever, and interacting with my fellow XRP community members. But that is all that it is. I'm just a dude on the internet. Just like you. There's no difference. I just run a YouTube channel. All right. So anyway, let's jump into this piece. Oh, by the way, too, I want to let you know, I got some tweets from David Schwartz I'm going to share with you in this video on some, frankly, hard-hitting stuff. So David Schwartz, of course, being Ripple CTO and co-creator of the XRP ledger itself. All right, U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres has asked Ripple and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission whether they are willing to consent to a magistrate judge to conserve resources and promote judicial efficiency. And they have a little document, official legal document on the screen indicating as much. Piece continues, this could potentially allow the case, which is expected to take over a year to resolve, to move more quickly. If either Ripple or the SEC disagrees, both of the parties have to file a joint letter about withholding their consent. And so apparently, look, I don't have a law background either, so my understanding is this is just it's a procedural thing that was expected to happen. This is not something. My understanding is it's not something that's unique to this particular case. The idea of expediting this. But anyway, as explained by Jake Chervinsky, General Counsel for Compound, the parties are automatically asked to use a magistrate judge since this is a standard court procedure. On the off chance that both parties consent, this is unlikely to alter the timeline of the case. Yeah, well, I don't know if they're going to consent. We'll see. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of skeptical, but here's a quote. The parties in every single case are automatically asked if they want to consent to a magistrate judge. Literally every single case. The SEC won't consent. I doubt Ripple will either. Even if they did, it wouldn't really affect the timeline of the case. Lawyer Jesse Hines says that the case is likely to drag out until at least Q4 of 2021. And so that's what's interesting to me, because a lot of the fireworks that people are expecting to happen, certainly before the news over last week hit, a lot of analysts are saying, hey, XRP is going to go to XYZ, whatever they say their target is, substantially higher than it is now, and that it would be likely hitting towards the end of 2021. And so it would be super fascinating if things actually cleared up that quickly. I can only imagine, once that positive news hits, which is not a guarantee, I understand that, but if it does, I can't imagine that reverberating throughout the entire crypto sphere, frankly. But here's a quote from Jesse Hines. Lawyer Jesse Hines. And if the SEC and Ripple agree to use a magistrate judge, the timeline that I outlined previously could be expedited. I still wouldn't imagine that there would be any resolution to this case at the very earliest, the last quarter of 2021. All right, now take a look at this. This is an interesting thread. It started by The Martian Report, and who wrote the following. He's got a little screen grab I'm going to pull up here in a second. He wrote, "This is why everyone in cryptocurrency should be watching this SEC news lawsuit and rooting for Ripple's victory. This isn't just about XRP being a security. It's about any digital asset not backed by a central government being deemed a security." And here is a snippet from the 71-page claim against Ripple. Check this out. "Both memos warned that XRP was unlikely to be considered currency under the Exchange Act because, unlike traditional currencies, XRP was not backed by a central government and was not legal tender." And so look, if you're going to claim that XRP absolutely is a security because it's not backed by a central government, what the hell does that mean for the rest of the asset class? And why is Ethereum being protected then? That doesn't make a lick of sense. And then Bitcoin's protected only because you can't identify who created it. This doesn't stand up. And so this is why it's just one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see what happens, because Ripple has not yet had an opportunity to defend itself, and they deserve that opportunity, unquestionably. And I think a lot of this stuff, like, look, I read that damn document, and I get the sense, like, even though there are, undeniably, there are legitimate claims in there that the SEC has pointed out, it doesn't change the fact that, certainly in my humble opinion, XRP is not a security. And also, the way that it was written, it was very clear to me that, and this isn't going to surprise you, but it strongly struck me this way, that the way everything was worded, it was just to make Ripple just appear in the worst light possible and to stretch what would have reasonably be considered the truth. And that always it's disingenuous, and that's, I understand. So on both sides, I guess you got to do that stuff. Fine. I hate it though. Like I just like it when people are intellectually honest and genuine. But in a case like this, you just got to try and convince the jury in this case of everything that you're saying, even if you're not convinced that every argument you're making is actually a good argument. And not all the arguments on both sides will be good arguments, but it still doesn't change the fact that the route that we're going here, if it had to be the case that a central government had to issue, or what they wrote here again, XRP was not backed by a central government, so it was not legal tender. Well, if that's the bar, we're going to have some serious problems. Now, somebody named Link Vector responded to that and wrote, "Okay, but why is it okay for Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson to be privately selling huge swaths of XRP to private investors at less than market price? Shouldn't Ripple itself be handling such an escrow? Why are execs capitalizing and not being open about it? WTF is going on with this?" I could have missed it. I didn't see that specifically Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson were selling below market price. I am aware that they were selling. And it was interesting to me. I've been watching all sorts of other XRP YouTubers, and some of them apparently were caught off guard by this news of Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, with Brad Garlinghouse, of course, being Ripple CEO and Chris Larson being a co-founder of Ripple. So many of my XRP YouTubers were caught off guard by this news, and I was surprised by that because I've reported on this on my channel, and I made my stance clear over the last, I can't remember when the news was officially, at some point within the last year. It's come up multiple times, though, and I spoke my piece on it. Because look, whatever you think, even if you think that the behavior of that is not ethical, look, the ledger was public, and so that's the reason this news was out before the SEC. I'm just surprised others missed it. But to me, the way that I was always looking at it is, look, they're not selling enough XRP for it to, in any measurable way, impact the price of XRP. And so even if you think that it's not the most respectable thing to do, and admittedly the optics are bad, but even if you don't think it's the most respectable thing to do, I was still just looking at the bigger picture. I'm like, yeah, but I want to make money too. And look, they are doing something that's, if they pull this off, it's going to fundamentally change the way that money flows around the profit. And so, and I know that hasn't happened en masse yet, but if they pull that off, they certainly deserve to have rewards. And so I guess people have beef with that because they're selling during the bear market. But, it's just interesting to me. So much of what Brad Garlinghouse, ultimately sold, assuming this is all true, because again, I'm going from media reports, which I did cover, as well as the reports from the SEC. But even if that's the case, like Brad Garlinghouse, he sold it some XRP before the major bull run in 2017. So it's like you can sell whenever, but I don't know, man. Like it doesn't he missed the peak of it basically, or at least for some of what he was selling. But even again outside of that, the stronger point that I had always made on this channel is I don't care if other people make money as long as their XRP is not being dumped onto the market in a way that's going to in any sort of measurable way suppress price, because then I would have a problem and I would strongly speak out against that. But with the volumes that we're talking about here, yeah, the individuals make a lot of money and then the optics are bad, but I was just like, okay, I see it, fine, it doesn't look good. And so to anybody that disagrees with that, that's fine. I respectfully just have a different point of view, but I do get where you're coming from. It's like the other XRP YouTubers that are strongly offended by that. I get where they're coming from. I don't know. I'm just going to say it again. The optics are bad, but it doesn't change the ultimate outcome of whether or not XRP is successful. So I'm just like, okay, but I wasn't going to pretend they weren't doing it. I did talk about it when it happened. And then Link Vector wrote another tweet and tagged my fellow XRP YouTuber Kevin Cage and wrote, Kevin Cage, would you have bought XRP knowing Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson are privately selling less than market price to large private investors? You literally have been saying that XRP price is manipulated. Well, here's why. I think he isn't manipulated. Almost 700 million XRP being sold and dumped on us. Yeah, well, I did know it. See, and so again, this information was out there, and I think that people just weren't paying attention. This is not new stuff. It simply isn't. And as far as selling XRP below market rate, Ripple has done that, and they've publicly acknowledged that, and I've talked about it on the channel here. And so other XRP YouTubers, some of them I've listened to, and I like, again, I respect where they're coming from. I just happen to feel differently, and I'm a big fan of diversity of thought, and if you disagree with me too, we can still be friends. But the way that I looked at it was like, look, they need to disperse XRP somehow. And, you can tell me what you think the best method is. That's a fun conversation, actually, legitimately. But one thing that they were doing is, in some instances, selling XRP anywhere from, I think it was 4 to 30% below market value, but with strings attached, so that XRP could not be immediately dumped. And that's been done for the last few years during the bear market. And so the reality of it is, even if you got a sweetheart deal, let's say Ripple gave you, because by the way, you're getting a volume discount, like you're purchasing a major amount, and it does get it out into the ecosystem, so that part's good for sure. But even if you do that, there's a lot of risk attached. You can't sell the damn thing for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, depending on what the specifics of the details are. And so that meant over the last 3 years, if you took one of these deals, when it was all said and done, your investment was probably down. And so there's don't pretend like there's no risk associated with this, even if you get what you think is a sweetheart deal. If anything, it would just speak to the degree that some of these people that took these deals were thinking long term. And again, it gets it out into the wild, and that part is undeniably good. So I've talked about this on the channel for a couple of years now. Like this should not be catching people off guard. Just like, you guys got to pay attention. This is not breaking news, okay? And so that's why I always talk about the stuff that doesn't sound as desirable, because this is not a hype channel. I'll talk about the stuff that doesn't sound desirable, and we can all agree to disagree, or some of you will agree with me, I suspect. I don't know where most people lie on this. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts, but that's okay. And so David Schwartz then jumped in here and check this out. He wrote, what outcome would you have preferred? So he's writing to Link Vector here, who has a problem with the quote-unquote dumping. He wrote, what outcome would you have preferred? A small handful of people holding 90% of the supply? Holding and lockups just kick the can down the road. And then somebody named Cryptom responded to David and wrote, I see a strong argument for discounted sales to ecosystem partners if it incentivizes or use or drives adoption. One thing I have yet to understand, though, does Ripple take the stance that XRP or the XRP ledger are designed and intended mainly for institutional clients only? Example, if a network user who is not a customer or payment provider disagrees with personal sales or the total amount of XRP held by the top 0.2% wallets, are these considered non-issues if/because they are congruent with the preferences of the largest stakeholders, majority of the network? David Schwartz responded to that as well. And he wrote, I usually say XRP was designed for payments. That's mostly what the early developers had in mind, but we really didn't know the world was different then, and I wouldn't encourage the thought that it should particularly matter to anyone what others think XRP or XRP Ledger are good for. Exactly, it's decentralized. And so if somebody wants to purchase it and take the risk of, even if it's a sweetheart deal because they're purchasing a ton of it, I mean, volume discount, okay, fine. If they want to take on that risk and it has to be locked up for X amount of time, well, that's bold. If they want to do it, it's risky because it's crypto. And it gets it out into the wild, right? Out of the hands of Ripple. I don't have, there's no perfect way to distribute, because whether it's proof of work or in this case, XRP being created all at inception, whatever model is, like, nothing's perfect. You can critique anything, but still, to me, this seems like a step in the right direction. That's just my humble opinion. And then a couple more here. Where is I going down here? Here we go. Right. From the Martian Report, who started this thread, wrote, honestly, Ripple's approach to distribution and easing the anxiety of XRP adopters by locking Ripple's chunk in escrow is what told me the company is ethically responsible with the influence your collective holding represents within the total market share, to which David Schwartz responded. It is funny that something that seemed so easy in 2011 turned out to be a nearly impossible task. The failure of giveaways, the tax complications, and simply the lack of good options caught me, at least, completely by surprise. And so they did attempt in the very early days to do some giveaways, and it didn't work. And I tweeted to David Schwartz. He may not have even seen it, or he can't respond to everything anyway. But I asked him to flesh out exactly why the giveaways failed. I've never seen a thorough explanation of why, so I can't answer you that. But David Schwartz's position is that they gave it a whirl, gave out some, but it failed. And part of the reason is, I know he had cited in the past that once XRP was for sale in open market exchanges, that represented a problem. But I would like to see him flesh out why that was a problem. That's as far as I've ever seen him explain it, though. And then XRP community member All the Way 08 responded to that and wrote, "You said what you said about no incentive being the best. I don't think I agree with that, though, and clearly the way XRP is being distributed is a problem, or Ripple wouldn't be being sued right now. Why not have validators vote to have the escrow pay out as validator rewards?" And so what he's talking about there, as far as incentive, proof of work, mining with Bitcoin, there's an incentive for the mining and distribution of Bitcoin. And with XRP, it was all created at inception, and there's no financial incentive anyway. There are other incentives, but there's no financial incentive to run a validator, right? Now, David Schwartz responded to that and wrote, "The XRP ledger has no mechanism to resolve competing claims that are all valid. Doing that would require completely changing the consensus mechanism to one that is competitive rather than cooperative. Consensus was designed only to solve the double spend problem and coordinate activation of agreed changes. It's not proof of work and can't decide who gets money." Exactly. And so the way that it's set up, the consensus algorithm that is what runs the XRP ledger, it's just to decide the order in which transactions occur. That's simply it. You don't need mining. There was a better way to do it. And early Bitcoiners, David Schwartz, Jed McCaleb, and Arthur Brito, figured it out. And now we have XRP, and it's pretty awesome sauce as far as I'm concerned. So you can let me know what you think. I really do love diversity of thought, and I'll stay open-minded in all of this stuff. But as far as this controversial stuff, I think most people, I'm just surprised that so many people in the XRP community, especially people that are well known, were really caught off guard by this news. Like, I've been talking about it for years, literally on this channel for years. And if you've been following me for some time, you know that. And so I'm okay with the positions that they have. I just happen to feel differently, and that I think that should be okay. But there we are. I'll wrap it up there, though. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.